appointment, so I'd have plenty of time.
I'm sure it's right where I left
I have a feeling you're probably right. Call the meeting to order, and Pastor?
Let's join in prayer. O Lord of all of our lives, of all of our seasons, as we come into this particular season and are reminded of the passing of time and the movement of life, we give you thanks for the ways in which you are present with us and the ways in which you've been present with the people of this community through the years, through the seasons. And now we pray that you would give the city commissioners the wisdom and insight they need as they deal with particular challenges of this time. Might they make decisions that are wise and good and for the health and strength of the people of this community. Hear us always, we ask. In the most holy of names. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to start over.
I don't think so.
Sorry, guys.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. The only addition to the agenda this evening is that I'd like to have an executive session with you to discuss confidential business material at the end of our regular business.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll start with the approval of the minutes from October 19th, 2016.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved by Sam and seconded by Lyle that we approve the minutes for the October 19th, 2016 meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Moving on to appropriation ordinance number 20.
This isn't a specific question, but our Blue Cross Blue Shield payment, do we know anything about future increases or plans?
What we budgeted for.
This is for our next year now. Yeah, it started in October.
Okay, so
We budgeted for our coming year for the current level of.
Yeah, they won't know until a couple months before.
so we're still good.
Yeah, I know
Okay.
there's a lot of news about people
Yeah.
learning about the raise, but we kind of got to jump on that, and that's why we were able to
Good.
do the
It's already
budget.
here, it's October to September,
Ah,
Yes.
okay,
so it already started, so.
good. Thanks.
On 63751, I'm just curious what exams we're purchasing. It's not a significant amount, but University of Kansas exams.
That's going to be fire officer certifications and fire testing and EMT testing exams.
Makes sense.
Eric, are part of those that when other officers or people are brought in and then you
No.
guys are doing? Okay.
Now, this is for our people to get certified.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you. Well, I'll move to approve appropriation ordinance number 20.
Second.
It's been moved by Tim and seconded by Lyle that we approve appropriation ordinance number 20. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carries. At this point in our agenda, we have time for public comments. If there's anyone present who wishes to address the commission. Okay. All right, we'll move on to new business, charter ordinance number 25.
This ordinance is prepared for us by our bond counsel in Topeka, the firm of Gilmore and Bell, and is the first step toward borrowing the money we will need to borrow in order to pay for the wastewater treatment improvement plans. And this ordinance, frankly, I just left the necessity and all the paperwork up to them and will for the rest of this project, but they advise us to pass this charter ordinance, which exempts us from certain state statutes and says that we are going to do it this way instead. The state statutes were exempted from place various limits and procedures on how to finance sewage improvements, but they can be exempted, and that's what he recommends. So this is a charter ordinance, meaning it takes 4 of you to pass it, and also meaning that it could be protested within a period of time. So we need to get this one out of the way and then be able to proceed with our financing in time to start paying a contractor when they start working. We met this morning with our lead engineer to review the 90% plans. They plan to put their stamp on the final plans and send them to the state Kansas Department of Health and Environment for review, and anticipate 4 weeks for that review, after which we would be ready to proceed with bid letting. I've reviewed the contract documents that the engineers have prepared, and we'll be providing you with the final draft of those in advance so you can look at them. So all other things being equal, if we stay on that schedule, then sometime in January, we were probably letting a bid. A month or so after that to get the document preparation and bonds and all that all done, possibly then a March 1 start date or sometime around that schedule, 9-month anticipated construction schedule. That's how it looked this morning.
So then by about this time next year, we should be wrapping that up.
Wrapping up
Phase
phase
one.
one and well along on the design of phase two. We talked this morning that we will probably engage them to start the design of phase two right after the bids are let on phase one. And then they will be active, they will have a construction inspector on site pursuant to our existing contract with them throughout the construction. So this time next year, we may be looking at an estimate for the cost of phase two as well.
Larry, is that pretty specific what type of companies can do that work? Or is that pretty broad that a lot of different companies can do it? Specific kind of-
They are going to send us their list of companies that they send notices to on a regular basis. She mentioned they have a lot around Wichita, but they also have some further north up here. We just want to take a look at it and see if there's anybody we know if we want to add or subtract. Then, as is done these days, they will post these at various online, the plans, at various online plan shops where people know to look for them that are looking for work for their companies. She said she anticipated that would have a good result for seeking bids on this. There are a lot of good companies around that do this kind of work.
Okay.
So
And they
Larry, what exactly are we being exempt on the KSA by doing this ordinance?
Some limitations on the procedure and amount that can be borrowed for a sewage project.
What's the procedure that we're cutting?
I will confess to you, I've left all this up to bond counsel. He just said we ought to do it. We can get him on the phone right now if you want him to answer the question.
I'm just curious
Yeah.
on
Well,
what procedure,
Sure.
what we're bypassing. I mean,
Why don't I just do that? He gave me his phone number. You
Okay.
can just talk to him if you like.
I'd just like to know what we're overcoming here.
Yeah, 'cause it's kind of vague.
He offered to make the trip this evening, but I told him calling him would be sufficient.
There's a bit of a descriptor on the following.
Yeah.
What do we have?
What are the email that he sent to you and Stacy that,
Yeah, that's what I was trying to find. Oh, there was another email that he first told us about it, and it kind of explains it.
it says basically removes the antiquated dollar limit without an election for wastewater treatment projects. Governing body, including mayor, should pass by 2/3 vote. Mayor and clerk should sign 3 copies. Evidence is governing body should complete.
So that's all the explanation.
So in essence, we can make the decision without taking it to the voting
Well,
citizens of the city.
yes.
And-
So I understand. Let me go ahead and we'll just call him before we get too deep in this. There's a reason we hire these guys. This is Larry Yuri. We're in the commission meeting. The commissioners do have some questions that I didn't feel fully prepared to answer about the charter ordinance this evening, so could you just dialogue with them a little bit? Sure. I'm putting the phone up on the podium right now.
Okay.
Hi, Kevin. This is Christy Hash, the mayor, and we do have a couple of commissioners who have some additional questions about the proposed ordinance that we're voting on tonight. Sam, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, Kevin, this is Sam Sacco. What provision are we taking away by applying this ordinance that we would have had to do if we don't do it?
There is, at least what I've used, an antiquated dollar limit in that statute. It's a very old statute. And if you exceed the dollar limit, there's an election requirement. So this removes all of that. And again, the primary focus, I'm going to pull up that statute if you bear with me for just a second. I think that dollar limit is 200,000,
So,
which doesn't get you as far today as it did when I think when that statute was enacted.
this is Chuck Lambert. So my understanding then is that if we wanted to spend more than 200,000 without doing this charter, we would have to take the proposal to a vote for constituents to vote for it. But if we go with this charter route, then we can fund it at the appropriate level of what's being cost without having to go to a vote, without putting this on an election.
Correct.
Unless there's a protest.
The thought was, it was Larry, Gary, and I were talking about this project, our sewer statutes for bond, again, are very old, antiquated. When it comes to treatment, you run into some different statutes that for whatever reason had dollar limitations, before you could do certain things. And interestingly enough, it's not true of lines. I mean, you can go build sewer main lines, you can rehabilitate, every line in the city, and it may cost a lot of money, if you're thinking about dollar limitations, and all of that can be done under other sewer project and bond statutes. But when it comes to treatment, there's some real difficulty. And so once Larry and I were talking about the project with phase 1, phase 2, as it comes up in the future, I said it makes some sense to take care of this charter now, because that's really what we'll want to use, I think. And so that's some of the background.
Kevin, one other question. And I firmly believe that, something like this, commissioners with the knowledge they had need to make the decision and not the public on this. But is there, with everything that's going on and the distrust in government and everything else, would there be anything wrong in adding to it that when such monies are spent, that the public would be notified of what we're doing and why we're doing it?
Well, yeah, the thought that I was just having, if there's input, then you could allow for a period of time, maybe it's 30 days, during which voters could voice their objection or not, and then sort of react to that.
I think since this project's already been approved, that A would probably fit best as far as our situation goes right now. I do like your B, but then I'd also like added to it, but the commissioners still have the right to make the final decision on that if you go B.
Yeah. Yeah, and your point, at least what I'm hearing is a good one, is that, this is sewer treatment. It's not, it really isn't a discretionary thing.
Right.
Probably by the time you get to this point. So it's as a governing body, you've made the determination as to what needs to be done, versus, a new swimming pool or new library, those sorts of things that maybe are a little more discretionary. So I hear what you're saying. You could definitely add something that would address sort of either of those, both A and B. It would, once the charter ordinance becomes effective, there would still be another resolution that specifically describes the project, phase one probably at this point, and estimated costs and those sorts of details. So back on my A, even if we said before we do anything under this charter ordinance, which will become effective after a couple of publications, 60 days, we still have another resolution, and we could put in here that it's going to be published, just like something that may be done 5 years from now as well. And we could again add that, to take voter input over a period of 30 days and consider that sort of thing in as well. And again, that's discretionary of a future governing body if they want to use it. So we would say, have to publish that authorizing resolution from the deck, and then if the governing body chooses after publication, there's a 30-day period during which voters can lodge a protest or protest, however we want to word that.
Or just discussion. I like that word better. But I like that. I think it's something that needs to be, to put in this, just for the fact of, that people know that, hey, we're up front, we welcome their thoughts, and we want to explain what we're doing and why. And I think that just, if you tell people ahead of time, you get a lot less talk afterwards on what's going on.
This is Larry Urey, speaking, if I could, just a moment. My concern, in whatever way we change this ordinance, I want to be sure we will be definite enough as we proceed that we're going to have an ordinance pass and the bonds available to issue before we sign a contract to do the project. And not have some timing, we'll get a protest period in there that is going to hold us up.
And then maybe just A right now would be the best way, that we will put in the paper what we're doing when the money's spent, and what we're, something like that. On such and such, this to notify you, on this project, this much is going according to the ordinance, and something like that. Just something they know ahead of time, before the vote instead of after.
One of the things I was going to mention, and this is more for Larry, I don't know how far you are into your agenda. I could, and I'm just sitting at my office, so I could probably make the changes we're describing and get this back, just in terms of timing, so there'd still be a chance for you to consider it this evening, if somebody wanted to pull it off of an email and
Sure.
print it.
I'm not saying
Because that
it
was
was
something
Yeah.
to think about, too, as well.
Actually, I think that sounds like a very good
Yes, I
idea.
like that.
So Kevin, if you would email that to,
I think we can probably include what we're calling both A and B, and just know that on this project, as soon as this charter ordinance becomes effective or shortly thereafter, we may be dollar amount, and it will be published. But that second part is not going to be required. That's more for in the future if a governing body decides to avail itself to that. We'll publish it. We'll slow it down a little bit. We'll wait 30 days before proceeding or something. And maybe that's, we talked about not a protest, maybe discussion. Maybe we word it so that after publication of the resolution, if we want to use the sort of B thing that we're talking about at some point in the future, maybe it's after publication, no construction contract can be signed for 30 days or something. So then we publish it. We know there's 30 days, for example, before anything else can be done. And so if anybody wants to come talk about it or talk to their commissioner about it, it's during that 30 days. And after the 30 days, then we can proceed and sign contracts and that sort of thing. And again, that's optional for a future governing body. If the time constraints don't allow it, maybe you don't use it. But if they do allow it, then you can say, okay, we're going to publish this because the charter ordinance requires it. It's got the dollar amount in it. It's got a description of the project. And we choose to wait 30 days before we sign any construction contract or commit ourselves. And again, I want to reiterate, that wouldn't be required. It wouldn't be required on phase one of what we're talking about now. It would only be required if a governing body chose in the future, as was mentioned earlier, or we'll just take some time. So if people want to discuss it, they're going to have that 30 days before we reach the point of no return.
I like it.
You want to do that and email it directly to Amber, and we'll just take it up when we get it?
Yeah. I will do I'm sitting here thinking I can do that in probably 10 to 15 minutes, but don't hold me to that. I may not be as good as I'm thinking I'm going to.
Okay, well, take your time and.
I don't know that there's a way we could get out of here in 15 minutes if we tried.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not an issue.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you,
so
Kevin.
much, Kevin. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, we got your number.
We definitely have your number. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on then to the welcome sign easement.
No bond counsel involved here. Okay, so as the brief memo says, this document that I drew up would preserve for the city, you want to go to the map? This is the land we just finished filling in. It is all the way south of Taco John's. This is the piece that we own, so here's the highway over here, and this is the land, and it kind of narrows down. This is the fence line, so right over here is the end of our flood control project and the Walmart turnoff and all that. And the part that's been graded, put up to grade, is squared off on this south end of it. So if you go out there and see, that's where the flat land ends, and there's a little bit that dips down that we still own, but wasn't any good way to fill it in, I guess. So what I'm suggesting is, by this document, is that we reserve for ourselves the south 20 feet, this part marked off right here, of that as being a good place to put a welcome to Concordia sign. That's what I have in mind. Be very visible there. By putting it on the record like that, then if we sell this land, then we still have this piece of it down here. We wouldn't have to keep it. If we were dealing with somebody, they said, no, we gotta have the 20 feet, we could sell it to them. But I think it's a good idea to put it on the record like this so that anybody's looking at it gets the idea of what we're talking about. We're getting ready to file this survey of that property. This is but you'll notice it's not signed yet. They're waiting for us to decide on this if we want to do it before we file the survey. So my suggestion would be that you approve the document. Would you go back to the document then, please, Amber? Which is this one that just says that we are reserving to ourselves the south 20 feet of that lot for the purposes of improving, constructing, maintaining, repairing, operating, altering, relocated, and otherwise using sidewalks, signage, utilities, and other structures and facilities. So we might put a welcome to Concordia, you sign up there, a sidewalk in front of it or in back of it, some flowers, whatever, at some future date. We don't have anything on the drawing boards, it'd just be a very good place for one, I think. So that's what this is all about.
Well, since down the line if somebody needs it, I would go with this then, but without that provision, I would kind of have a hard
Yeah,
time.
it's
But-
us to ourselves, so we can always just undo it, there's no third party involved. I did change one word, I guess we got, in the one you got, this said the easement is granted, I put as reserved, that's consistent with the rest of the document, we're not granting it to somebody else, we're reserving it to ourselves. So we are not committing ourselves to do anything, we're just putting it in there so the property gets sold. And it kind of makes everybody aware at the time, oh, we were thinking about this, we're gonna deal with it, we're gonna keep it, we're gonna not.
I'll move we approve the south welcome sign easement.
Second.
It's been moved by Lyle and seconded by Chuck to approve the easement for the welcome sign. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Let's move on then to the manager's report.
Excuse me.
Stacy and Amber and Kim Reynolds from the college went down to Wichita last week for the kickoff meeting of the leadership grant through the Kansas Leadership Center. That we got and brought back some material. I left copies of the material for each of you up there. They would like us to sign up for their February, March, or April meetings, those of us who want to go to this. And the deal is, to reiterate, the grant pays for their charge for the training. We have to pay for the transportation and housing and some of the meals for basically 2.5 days. It'll be probably 2 nights in Wichita for anyone who attends. In the grant application, I stated that we and the school district and the college would, and the county, would give first preference to governing body members. So I know some of you, a couple of you already told me you're interested. A couple of you kind of indicated you're probably not going to be able to make it, but I thought we could make the next meeting for sure. And I think it would be good for all the entities to try and get everybody down there and through the programming in February, March, April, so everybody's kind of on the same page. And then we have talked about having some joint planning with these other entities, kind of use this as the basis for it. So if you want to take that stuff and look at it, let me know next meeting who's interested. I'm going to give this same material to the other entities and ask them the same thing. Try to get it so we have everybody signed up who's going to go by the end of this month. If you all go, for example, then we won't have as many department heads probably go. Or if not all of you go, then we'll spend more people from the department head.
You have 40 slots
40 altogether,
total.
yeah, and we kind of got an approximation from the college and the high school, the county, on how many each of them was interested in to get up to 40.
Are there certain, if I remember right, there's open to any program, or are there certain that you lead now,
The
or
program
they
I'm
can change?
recommending is that one, the You Lead Now, which is a 2.5-day program. The other one is much longer, it's a week. So that's the one I'm suggesting is the You Lead Now program. And I'm suggesting any of those first 3 dates, it shows on the program dates in the handout, February 14, 16, March 14, 16, April 11, 13. And then we would make arrangements for a hotel room for who's ever going. So if you want to just let me know by next meeting for sure, and then we'll fill out the other slots. The other thing I wanted to mention to you briefly, I'll give you a handout on it. I'll just hand it to you now. I don't expect this to build all the way through it. But I've been thinking for some time that there might be an advantage to the city of establishing a land bank, which is a statutory procedure that would allow us to take the land that we own along College Drive, our land we're holding for commercial development, and the land that we the Blue House that we bought on Sixth Street, all of which are subject to property tax because we're not holding them for a governmental purpose or using them for a governmental purpose. By putting them in the land bank, they go off the tax rolls until we sell it. I can't see a reason not to do that so far. I'll admit I haven't studied it completely through, but I've looked at some ordinances from other cities. I have a question or two for the League of Municipalities attorneys to make sure I'm not misunderstanding something. But assuming that it's as straightforward as it seems, the way this all works, the statute says that we have to have a board of trustees of a land bank. And the land bank is kind of an entity. But the board of trustees, the commissioners can be the board of trustees. And for example, in Overland Park, in their ordinance, it said all of the sitting commissioners, the board of trustees consists of the sitting commissioners, and their terms of office as trustees of the land bank are the same as their terms of office as commissioners. And the board of, so basically you're still exercising the same powers, and it's you who's deciding if we're gonna sell a piece of property, and if so, to whom and what for, so forth and so on. So the only real effect is it takes it off the tax rolls, as near as I can figure out. As I said, I just need to double check with the league people to make sure I'm not missing something here, but the statutes seem pretty obvious. So I just printed off the statutes as they are so you could have a look. And if this is so, then I think what I may suggest is I'll just put an ordinance of this type on our next agenda so we can get this done, because then we're gonna have a deed drawn up to transfer things, get it filed before the end of the year, which should take the property off the tax rolls till further notice. If I run into some snag, then I just won't do it or let you know what happened.
Well,
That's
right
all.
now, say like on the Blue House,
Yeah.
how much of that actually goes to the city, how much to the county? Is it, do you have an idea of the
I don't have the
ratios or
pie chart
percentages?
in my head, could you say, is what is it, about a quarter of it go to us, give or take? Hmm?
Yes-ish.
There's about,
About
Or
a
just
quarter.
maybe if we pursue this further, if you could maybe get us a more definite
Yeah, about a quarter of the
answer.
property tax that's collected on the city property. goes
Is there-
back to the city.
So then would other entities that would be affected by this, would they have any ability to legally oppose it?
Not that I find.
Of course, they might find some land to do this on too.
So, yeah, well, and this was,
That
you know,
benefits them, that's
this
fine.
would be strictly our properties that are now, we own and they're for sale. In the meantime, we're paying tax on them.
Guess I'd be curious to maybe see what we are actually paying and
Yeah,
stuff
we can do
too.
you that. Show you. It's enough money to think about, you know, several $1,000s we're paying.
So, and you probably explained this and I just went over my head. So then could we put this building into the land bank?
We wouldn't need to, this building is exempt from tax.
It's already functioning in the form of a
Yeah.
government, so in that sense, then,
The
okay.
only property that we pay taxes on is property that is.
Not being utilized.
Not being utilized for a governmental purpose.
Okay, that's, yeah.
And for example, Blue House, you know, the long-range plan for that really is probably knock it down and make a parking lot. And so at that point then, we would file a tax exemption request since it's a parking lot. And take it off the rolls that way. I suppose another one, now that I think of it, would be where we just knock down the
Gas
the
station.
the old gas station out by the viaduct, you know. Taxes are pretty low on that, I think it's $100 or something, but, yeah, and,
Points
yeah.
are points.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think the Mosier property may be exempt, somebody mentioned that one, we'll check on that. I think the property we own south of the airport, I think we already filed for an exemption on that one. But we'll take a look and be sure we're covering all the property we're paying taxes on if we do it, and have some facts and figures for you.
Do the other taxing entities have a right to protest or?
Not that I can see in the statute.
Okay. I mean, it's just like the TIF project, and we had to have each one of the entities
I'm not
on
seeing where
board.
it says that
so,
in there
okay.
at all, so, but I just did kick into gear on this, and that's why, like I said, I wanted to talk about it with the other entities, but all of the statutes that pertain to it are in front of you, they're pretty short, and it just says we can do it.
Okay.
in
So-
2014,
27%.
Do you, do you happen to have then what the other three entities?
At that time, the county, 32%, school district, 23%, college, 14%.
How much?
The college was 14.
14, okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Amber.
That was 2 years.
Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. It's like you said.
Well, we'll get you the facts and figures to go with it, and you're not committing to doing anything at this point, but when I started looking at it, which I've been meaning to do for a while, I realized I was running out of year here, so we better get on it. Okay. And that's really all I had, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you. Mayor and Commissioner comments and reports. I'll start. I just wanted to thank you for the new curb and gutter in front of my house. It looks great. I know you worked hard on it and worth every penny.
I got a question for Ron. Yesterday, when I was coming up for the, well, whatever, I can't remember when, the street cleaner, does it normally suck up the leaves, or is it more just tearing them up so that then they blow easier?
Mulch.
It's not a vacuum sweeper, it's a mechanical sweeper. So you got the gutter brooms on the outside edge. What happens is it kicks them up and pushes them in, and then you got a pickup broom up underneath of it, and it pushes them up into an elevator, then it elevates up into the hopper.
Okay, just, well,
mean-
you might have them check it, because the other day when it looked like they had just caught south of the county building, and there was just
Okay.
a trail of leaves there.
Yeah.
Well,
So it didn't look like it was working right.
well, when it leaves, you fill up pretty fast,
Yeah.
and they pile up in the front, and every now and then you gotta raise your thing up and kick them back. But if they fill up and they don't notice it,
Pretty sure that's what happened.
they
Is it-
should be
it's just a
noticing it, because they
trail.
got a camera so they can see it back there, but.
This is the new one, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so I mean, it still does the same thing if you overfill it.
We'll probably just need to touch base, because if we just bought the new one, we want to make sure that it's looking like it works well.
Well, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I thought, because it's
Okay.
just, like I said, there was just, you could tell where it was almost damp or something then, but it was just a trail of broken down leaves is what it was.
Just like mowing your yard
Well,
when
it
the
could
bag's
be
full.
breaking some up and leaving them down there too.
Okay.
That was,
So-
they could find their way home.
There you go.
All right, thank you, Ron.
Anybody else?
I'm good.
Okay, staff comments?
Put in the packet, at the back of the packet, Wreaths Across America. They contacted me and want to put wreaths up there to veterans' grave sites. I just thought I'd bring it to you guys. I thought it'd be a pretty good idea. I can email her back, and because they talked about starting this next year if they raise the money, and getting volunteers to put them in up there and stuff, and picking them up too after Christmas time. I don't know if anybody went to the website or not.
I did.
You did?
It looked like it would be kind of a neat project.
Yeah, that's kind of what, they just lay them in front of the sites.
Bless you.
And there was a pretty nice article how it started out and everything, and just built from there. So I'll probably contact her, and if she stays kind of within our ordinances and stuff, I'll tell her to go ahead.
Yeah, I couldn't see any reason to not.
Well, there's about 100 veteran tombstones. Back down in that
Probably.
corner,
They're up there in the southwest corner there.
over by the college.
It ain't quite as big as what this is. They're a little different than that, but,
That'd be nice.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
While the chief's on his way up here,
Chief's leaving the tower.
we had a discussion last night about Halloween.
I just
And
wanted to tell you what a wonderful time I had at the code development hearing process in Kansas City over the last couple of weeks. I spent 6 days there actually,
Oh,
watching how that all works, and it was pretty impressive. All the big guns from the big companies, whether it had anything to do with building codes or products that go into the building codes. American Wood Council, shingling product makers, all these people are there. debating what should go in and out of these codes, so it's pretty interesting.
It's good.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah. 7 days of, I didn't I only participated 5 days, but they had 7 days in here. And that goes to the online voting on the 7th.
So then will you get new code books?
Well, no, what that is setting the codes for 2018. The 2015 codes have already been set. We're under the 2012 because we're slow around here. We can't, one man can't review 6-8 set of code books every 3 years. You just can't do it. I mean, you gotta have a big staff, big city to be able to constantly get the new codes as they come out. And then usually there's, can't think of the word, but when they find mistakes, you know, they go back and their errata, they put out an errata usually a year or two after they're published, so. It's interesting to try to keep up with.
Thanks, Bruno.
Commissioners, Lieutenant Frederickson and I attended training in Salina today. It's on the overhaul of the juvenile justice system. That was passed by the last session of the legislature and funded in such a manner that, unlike Department of Transportation, they can't take the money for something else. It will take about 4 years to implement this. It's going to be done in stages, and there's going to be a council that will evaluate data and be able to make changes as it goes along. One of the immediate things that's going to help us out is in January, we'll be able to write a notice to appear to a juvenile, send that to juvenile intake, rather than taking the child into custody, calling juvenile intake, wait until they get there, wait until they process it, decide what they're going to do with the kid. We'll be able to just write them a notice to appear. Now, what form this notice to appear is going to take has yet to be determined, but it should save us some overtime and keep an officer on the street more often.
Chief, we had a discussion last night about Halloween. You might want to share about the calls that we got.
We had no Halloween-related calls, so there were, and I don't know where they would find an outhouse to tip over, reference our conversation last night.
That's from your era, Lyle.
It just amazed me because just in, 20, 30 years, we've gone from maybe, harmless vandalism kind of things, soaping windows and tipping over trash cans to nothing.
Well, that takes away from gathering the loot.
Yes, but I think it's great.
Have you tried to buy bar soap? I mean, you can still buy it, but it's not like it's.
What is bar soap?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, as long as they're not buying eggs, that's
Yeah.
Right.
And
I'm
toilet
not
paper.
suggesting
That's a
anything here.
positive thing for our community that we've
Yeah.
moved towards, so thanks. I guess, yeah.
There you go, yeah, that's probably true.
Have time to go out and exercise.
Fire department's been busy. We're in the middle of 3 EMT classes. We have staff teaching 3 different ones. We have one going on at Clyde. We're helping Clyde and Clifton try to keep their ambulance services afloat. And the Blue House, we have another TCCC tactical medic class that we'll be teaching here, and we've got 5 doctors coming in to take the class. So it will be an interesting class with some doctors in there. So just kind of interesting. They're coming to Concordia to get trained and stuff. So
Yeah, it's good.
That's
Chief,
all done over there.
everything goes on over here.
Now that, I guess the new transport ambulance has got a few miles on it, they seem to be rolling smooth.
Everyone seems to enjoy it. It's a nice, smooth ride. We have less complaints from patients, and we've had one go clear to Kansas City in it. So
Party band.
Excellent. Sign me up.
we can sign you up for an EMT class.
My wife says I can't do anything else right now. I'm committed as it is. I would like to, though. I think it'd be fun.
Is that it for staff comments? Okay, then I guess we need to have our executive session. Have we gotten our
Email.
We haven't heard from
Email.
Kevin yet, right? Everybody, we haven't heard from Kevin. No. Yes?
1 minute ago.
Okay. We'll put that on the screen, and then maybe we'll just call him back and let him walk us through it.
Okay.
Toby, you made me yawn. You yawned earlier, now it's catching.
You know, he was only yawning when I talked. I guess.
You know, now that you mention it, Larry,
I'm not gonna let it get under my skin. So is this the new one?
The formatting, I don't know if it's stupid for that, because it's in Word on my iPad, and usually PDF.
Okay, let's see then. Okay, that's not the ordinance
Oh,
itself.
that's the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep going then. Yeah, that's the ordinance. So, well, okay, hold on. All right, a little further up. Yeah, I mean, you need to scroll up a little bit. Okay, so here's the new stuff right in here. Let me, you might look on your copies to compare to the old one.
Yeah, it added a second paragraph under section 1.
Yeah, it's the second inset.
Okay, we lost it there. Okay.
Modern technology. We got it here, but doggone it. Whoa.
Can you,
there.
there we go.
That's
Take a
second
screenshot,
paragraph.
do something. Okay. Okay, so it looks like the first paragraph is what we already have in front of you.
That looks pretty good to me.
Yeah.
I don't think we really
Yeah.
talked
That
So-
second paragraph.
So this is the new stuff.
Right.
Here. Okay. Toby points out he did towards, as using this section improvements is new. That probably refers down here then. General obligation bonds authorized by this section shall be issued, sold, delivered, and retired in accordance with the provisions of the general bond law, except as here and otherwise expressly provided.
But you might want to
There you
look
go.
at this and what he's saying on
Okay,
it.
I thought, okay, well, let's look at the language first, and then we'll look at Kevin's message.
Let's tell you.
Oh. I've added another definition. Okay, so we have a new one? Okay, we will have it slightly changed one then, relating to what Toby wants. Okay. So is this the new one?
Version
The new
2.
one, the
Yeah.
V2?
Yeah, version
Okay,
2.
is it?
Unless
Okay.
the last one we looked at was version 2.
Oh,
It should be
this
looking at
is-
version 3. It's hard to gauge.
Yeah, it's here, section 1.
Okay. Well, let's just go down through this whole thing and see what it says. Okay. The governing body of the city may operate and maintain disposal works for the purification of the sewage of the city or any part thereof, including joint operation and maintenance of such facilities through interlocal cooperation with other city or cities. That's pretty much what we've seen before. The costs and expenses of building the same in whole or in part, parentheses as used in this section, improvements in parentheses, that's the new part that we've noticed, may be borne by the city as a whole and may be paid out of the general revenue fund, or if the governing body determines general obligation bonds of the city may be issued for such purpose. I might add at this point, Kevin and I talked about this earlier, this doesn't mean we must issue general obligation bonds. It means we can, and it doesn't mean that it will be paid out of the general fund. It means we can. The plan is to pay it out of our sewer treatment utility fund, which was expressly established for that purpose. But in order to issue a general obligation bond, you have to pledge the full faith and credit of the city, which means we would pay it out of the general fund if for some reason we had to. Okay? All right, so the new paragraph down there then, general obligation bonds authorized by this section shall be issued, sold, delivered, and retired in accordance with the provisions of the general bond law, except as here and otherwise expressly provided. before issuing the general obligation bonds authorized in this section. The governing body of the city shall adopt a resolution describing the improvements to be made, the estimated costs and expenses thereof, and the amount of general obligation bonds to be issued, and such resolution shall be published one time in the official city newspaper. Such resolution may also contain, but is not required to contain, a provision that no construction contract for the improvements may be made, shall be let or approved by the governing body of the city until 30 days have passed since the publication of such resolution one time in the official city newspaper. So that's the new part. Would you like me to get Kevin on the line and we run through this
No,
with him, or we're
I
good?
think that's exactly what we talked
Okay.
about.
And that's all they changed. I mean, the rest,
Yeah, the rest of it, the first paragraph, other than the parenthetical part, was the same.
okay.
Well, I'll move that we approve Charter Ordinance 12-621, version 2.
I'll second.
Let's make this easy.
It's been moved by Tim and seconded by Sam that we agree, or that we approve Charter Ordinance number 25, is that what you said? Oh,
Well, I went, this says 25, but I went by the very top.
Oh, the-
It should be ordinance 25.
That's ordinance 25.
okay.
Okay, my
That's what you
apologies.
meant, right?
Yeah, Charter number 25,
Okay.
treatment plant, Geo bonds.
Okay. It was moved by Tim and seconded by Sam. Is there further discussion on this?
Yeah, okay, I see what I did.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
You might just thank Kevin for his quick response so he can
Yes.
take care of this.
Sure, it was about $100.
Yeah.
We're paying for it.
Yes, we are. He would have been glad to drive down here this evening. But I told him to stop.
Sure, I would too. 2 hours on the road up, 2 hours on the road back.
Listen to the game.
No, they work on a percentage.
What time's that game?
Fair enough.
It's
tonight?
a healthy enough
Seven.
percentage. We
It's
are
game
not
7,
imposing
isn't it?
on him, let me put it this way.
Oh, okay.
All right, so at this point then, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, I would request that you adjourn into an executive session to discuss confidential business matters for a period of 20 minutes.
So moved.
With just me.
Second.
It's been moved by Chuck and seconded by Tim that we move into an executive session to discuss confidential business matters, inviting Larry Uri for a period of 20 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Oh, wait, no action was taken?
Yeah, no action was taken.
And then he
You need a motion
Motion
for,
to adjourn.
okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn.